Going into this season, a lot of people expected the Dallas Mavericks to be one of the better teams in the West, but so far this season, they have only had a 29-22 record, and they're only currently the 7th seed in the Western Conference. But despite the Mavericks being a little bit of a disappointment, I still think that they're a team that should be feared in the postseason. So in today's video, I'll be giving you 3 reasons why you should fear the Dallas Mavericks. Before we get into the video, I ask you to drop a like on this video to help my channel grow, subscribe to my channel if you want weekly NBA content, and help reach my goal of 1,000 subscribers, and comment on this video, start a conversation with me as I respond to all of my comments, and play that intro. The first reason you should fear the Dallas Mavericks is the fact that the Mavs are one of the best offensive teams in the entire league, as this season they currently rank 10th in offensive rating this year despite all the injuries that they have faced. And don't forget, last season they were a top 3 offense in the whole NBA, and they're clearly a team that can compete with the best teams in the league on offense, as their coach Rick Carlisle is one of the best coaches in the entire league, and he runs great plays and sets. Dallas also has plenty of guys who can score the ball at a good level, as obviously they have Luka Doncic, who's a superstar, as this season he's been putting up 28 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists while shooting 48% from the field and 37% from 3. Those are elite numbers, and they're some of the best numbers in the entire league. He's a big reason why their offense is so good, because not only does he score at a great level, he also creates open shots for others at a great level. So Luka's obviously great. Their second best player in Kristaps Porzingis has been pretty good this year, and he's a guy who puts a lot of pressure on the defense, as he's a 7-foot guy who has handles and is able to shoot at an elite level. This season, Porzingis has been averaging 20 points and 9 rebounds while shooting 47% from the field and 36% from 3. And in my opinion, in the postseason, I think he could step up and help them win some games. Porzingis, in my opinion, is an all-star tier level player who's a solid second option on a team, since if he's needed to, he can step up. Porzingis is somewhat inconsistent, but the thing with a guy like him is that I don't think he can necessarily get locked up one-on-one by anyone in the league. Maybe besides like Anthony Davis, Rudy Gobert, or Giannis or something. But basically, if he's going to play bad, it's going to be because of himself. Dallas also has Tim Hardaway Jr., who in my opinion is a pretty underrated player, since he's a great 3-point shooter who can hit difficult shots, and he's a guy who the defense really has to focus on and keep their tabs on. They have Josh Richardson, who's a solid player who is pretty inconsistent, but he could step up in random games and have 20 points. Dallas also has Dorian Finney-Smith, who is a guy who could space the floor. They also have Maxi Kleber, who is one of the best 3-point shooting big men in the league, as he shoots 43% from 3, and they also have Jalen Brunson, who is one of the better backup point guards in the league, as he's averaging 13 points while shooting 40% from 3, and I think he will be very important for them. So Dallas is a team that has many players who can go off and score 20 points randomly when needed, and they're a team that basically has every player that plays for them is a respectable 3-point shooter, and they have plenty of good shooters. Dallas can keep up with teams like the Clippers, Lakers, Jazz, Nuggets, or Suns on offense on any given night, and I think that gives them a chance to make the series close or potentially even upset them. The second reason you should fear the Dallas Mavericks is the fact that although most people don't think about Dallas as a great defensive team, they're actually pretty solid on that side of the floor, as although they only rank 13th in defensive rating, which is still pretty solid, they rank 8th in opponents' points per game, which is pretty good. Dallas's coach and Rick Carlisle is a smart coach, so in a playoff series, I feel he can make a good game plan to defend teams like the Jazz, Suns, and others. They also have a few guys who are solid on defense, and especially on the perimeter, as they have guys like Dorian Finney-Smith, who is a tall 6'8" forward, who I think wouldn't do a terrible job if they had to face LeBron or Kawhi or PG or anyone like that. And right now it looks like the Mavericks are going to face the Suns or the Jazz, and I think he could do a solid job on Donovan Mitchell or Devin Booker. He's far from a guy who will absolutely lock down someone, but he's definitely a good defender who more times than not won't get torched. They also have Josh Richardson, who I think could arguably even do a better job than Finney-Smith, specifically on guards. If the Mavs were to face the Suns, he could do a good job on CP3 or Booker, and if they face the Jazz, he could do a solid job on Conley or Mitchell. Although there's a few people who think Luka's a bad defender, this season he's actually been above average, so he won't get attacked on defense as much as you think, and he could hold himself down there against good offensive players. Third reason I believe you should fear the Dallas Mavericks is the fact that Dallas is a team that has proven that they can make some noise in the playoffs. As last season, going into the first round versus the Clippers, most expected it to be somewhat easy for the Clippers, but Dallas surprised me and a lot of people when they pushed the series to a close 6 games, and they did this with their second best player in Porzingis only playing in like 2 or 3 of the games, and in the first game of the series, he got ejected for some absolute BS. And I think they could have won that game if he didn't get ejected. And I think in general, if they were just fully healthy, they could have won that series or at least pushed it to 7 games. And this season, Luka has more experience, and in my opinion, he's just a better player. And last year, they pushed the Clippers all the way to the brink. And say all the jokes you want to say about the Clippers, but they were no joke and they still aren't. Dallas is currently the 7th seed in the conference, so they most likely will be facing teams like the Jazz or the Suns in the first round, and I honestly don't think it's that unrealistic to say that Dallas could beat both of those teams. By no means am I saying I would predict it to happen or that I think it will, but I don't think the Mavs are much worse than either of those teams, and Dallas would have the best player in both of those series as well, so I think they'd have a pretty good chance to get out the first round and surprise a lot of people. To conclude the video, I think Dallas has somewhat become underrated and forgotten about after a lot of people were hyping them up to start the season, and I think they could have a real chance to beat any team in the West except for the Lakers if they're healthy. Anyways guys, that's it for the video. Let me know what you think about the Dallas Mavericks. Drop a like on this video to help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want weekly NBA content and help me reach my goal of 1,000 subscribers. And comment on this video to start a conversation with me as I respond to all of my comments. And I'm out.